Welcome back to another Pen Talk. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for following me on this journey on my vlog or whatever you want to call it. I know some of you may have asked, Chris, I heard you're in Japan in the late 70s. Did you buy any pens when you were over there? And I have to say, yes, I did. I haven't shown any or talked about that adventure that I had. It was an assignment for from my employer. Spent about 6 weeks. Lived in Yokohama. Had an office I had to be in Tokyo. Plus, I traveled around the country and enjoyed Japan tremendously. It was an interesting country. I certainly learned a lot about the culture, which I couldn't learn from books. So this is one of the pens that I bought. I went to department stores, which are very popular. And at the time, I was into pens with different types of materials. So this you may recognize from the name. These are platinums, and they are sheepskin platinums. And a couple years ago, I came across this set. There was a plastic piece here to hold them in place, but considering the pens, they just wasn't as much of a quality piece as one might have hoped for. Very simplistic, fairly cheap plastic box. And I was also into getting combos, not necessarily in the same pen, but different writing instruments of the same model. So we got your classic very thin pencil. Some of us have fond memories of using these in drafting and writing and things of that nature. They were very popular in the 70s. And this pen is interesting with the sheepskin both in the bottom of the barrel and top of the cap. I mean, the design is nice. It's a pull-off cap, a little bit of resistance there. Good quality feel to it. And we see a nice 14 karat nib. Interesting gold inlay there. The feed is actually clear and the pen is inked up, so you're seeing the color of the ink there. And when we get to the writing sample, we'll show you what ink I put in it. When you unscrew the barrel, you'll get another little surprise. That is pretty low down converter there. Your standard, sack with a cover on it to fill it up, and of course it doesn't hold much ink. It takes a number of pushes to get it to fill up. Yeah, it's a nice metal section there, which Platinum and Sailor and Pilot have been using for pretty much for a long time. I had to do some refinishing a couple years ago on that sheepskin finish, but it seems to have recovered well from my tender loving care. The plating is not perfect. There's some pitting and stuff going on, and considering this pen really hasn't been around much, I did use it as a daily writer for a short period of time and then put it away. And everything on it is done well, but not exceptionally well. Yeah, it's nice and functional. Here's a look at that clear feed on the other side of the nib. I think that's unusual for a pen from this time frame, and certainly from a Platinum. You may have asked about getting rid of this kind of funky, cheap converter and using one of the nicer Platinum screw converters. And Platinum, like Pilot and Sailor, pretty much use the same converter. At least as far as I know, they all use the same converter for all their models of pens. So this converter will fit well in there. It seats very deeply, down here towards the nib, and it fits fine in the barrel, so that's an option. And you may ask, what other pens did you buy while you were in Japan? And this may not be one that you would have thought would have been in that list. It's Mont Blanc and Noblesse, which was popular again in the 70s and 80s. There's some discussion about maybe Dunhill either made these or they made Dunhill. I don't know. I get confused of them. But I got a fountain pen, a pencil, and a ballpoint. The ballpoint has a nice mechanism in it. You know, obviously you push down to put the ballpoint out, but then you push on the clip to retract the ballpoint. This has a interesting little nib that I haven't seen on any other Mont Blancs. It just says 585 on it for 14 karat. It's a decent nib. When I got this pen, it only took cartridges. I went to Fountain Pen Hospital and they gave me this converter, which is actually a Pelican converter, but it fits well and works well. So we may do a full review of this in the future. Steph Gramia Pens did a nice review on these. The Noblesse was around for a few years. It came in a number of different finishes. This is that brushed stainless with gold trim. And you may ask what other weird pens were being made around that time frame. This is a pilot version. I was into wood for a while. I'm still into wood pens. When I get them, they're just not as around as much as I would like. As you can see, this wood hasn't survived well, but I have another one of these. But what makes this nice is also the nib in it. It's a nice 18 karat, fairly large nib for that time frame. Similar section to what we had. And this is kind of a parts pen for the other one that I have, so in case anything I need, I can use it. But I just thought you'd like another look at another pen from a similar time frame. I decided to put this ink in the pen. I haven't used it for a while, and it's a very nice, kind of dark purple family ink. So much to my amazement, when I did my internet research, I found a few examples of this pen. Here they are. And it appears that Platinum still makes sheepskin style pens. The pen posts fine. It's a very light pen. You know, this section feels nice in the hand. But let's see how this 14K nib performs. I mean, it's a pretty fine writer. It's smooth, smoother than I would expect from a pen like this. It's also soft, but it's really not designed for flexing. So there's your nice fine line. As you put pressure on it, you can see it just globs out ink. Not something I think is good. I don't know whether there's a way of fixing it or doing something about it, or maybe trying a different type of ink, but that's it. I mean, you just have to write with it with no pressure, which to me kind of defeats the purpose of the nib. So you may ask, why do I take this time to show you this pen? I just think it's so interesting, this just the variety of pens that are made worldwide. Maybe some of you out there said, I really wish there was a sheepskin pen, and okay, now you know there is. Platinum made a lot of variety of pens. Many of them you may never have seen outside of Japan, so that's another reason to bring you this different version. I'm not going to rank this pen because it's not something that I would encourage anybody to buy unless they just really fall in love with it. So we've reached the end of this video. Hopefully you found it entertaining, enlightening, enjoyable. So thank you for watching. You know, it's hard to keep it from minimal pressure to putting out too much ink. And as you can see, it's still freaking wet up there. So that's a lot of ink. So we've reached the end. So may you enjoy this great world of pens. Enjoy looking at some of them. So until the next video, bye for now. This is One Strange Nib.